All right, so here's Sam with FasterFreedom here interviewing Cameron Cathcart. He is a local stud in the St. Louis market area. He just got into real estate investing. How long ago, Cam?
About not even 6 months ago.
So it's
So,
not even 6 months ago. Cam, we went to high school together. He's a couple years younger. He's a young spring chicken, and then he went out to Colorado for a couple years. Did some ministry things out there. I want you to tell us a little bit about your time out in Colorado.
yeah, so my wife and I, we lived from 2012 to middle of 2019 in Colorado, and loved it out there. But always, and I worked at a church out there, and it was amazing. But we always kind of wanted to get into real estate, and families here. We have two kids, a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old, and so wanted to be close to family. Wanted to be able to afford real estate. And so in the middle of 2019, we packed up and we moved back home to St. Louis.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, you moved back to St. Louis and you moved back for family purposes, but did you move back for kind of the intention to get into real estate and get into rental properties, or was that kind of a sidebar?
No, we knew. So we knew. It's probably been 3 years where at the church that I worked at, actually, a bunch of people there, they all had rental properties, and they kind of did it where they bought a house, and then they bought another house and moved into that, and would rent out the house that they had bought, and then bought another house, and so, but they'd all built up a portfolio. There's probably 4 or 5 guys there that had 3, 4, 5 rentals, and just seeing the wealth that created, especially because at the church, they weren't making a ton of money. And so to have an extra side hustle where they're making a little bit of money on the side, I was like, I want to do that. The problem was in Denver, the cheapest home, a starter home, was, $350,000, $400,000 to even get into a starter home out there. And so we had bought a home there, and we're like, we can't afford another $300,000-$400,000 house. So we read all the books, listened to all the podcasts, but we just never could make any moves because we didn't have the money to out there. And I wasn't comfortable enough to be able to do it from afar. So that was actually a big part of moving back home. I mean, it was obviously to be around family. I'm working at a great church out here in St. Louis. But also we wanted to be able to get into real estate. We had no idea how or what we were going to do, but it was something that we wanted to do. So we did
You
it.
decided to jump in. I like it. So
Yeah.
you got started out here about 6 months ago. How many properties have you bought in the last 6 months?
So we bought 6 in 6 months, and then we're tentatively under contract with you guys on one other one. So a 7th. And then I'm hoping that one I was telling you off, Paul, I'm hoping it'll have 8 here in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy. So 6 months, 8 properties. You're just jumping right in, learning a lot as you go, I'm sure. Your very first property, I believe, was a flip. We'll touch on that really quickly, but we mainly wanted to talk about was your very first rental property that you used the BRRRR method for and how it went and lessons you learned. But real quick, give us a breakdown of your very first property and how you bought it, how you came across it. Did you know you were going to make money? Was it just jumping in and figuring it out? Kind of run us through that first property.
Yeah, so the first property we bought, so I actually bought it in the hospital when my daughter was born 6 months ago. And it was one of those things where we moved back here, and the first, like literally, I think the week we moved back, we came to the Buyers Club, and Brian was talking. And that was when we had just grabbed breakfast. I'd just moved back. I didn't know what I was doing. And we were talking that night, and there was probably 250, 300 people there. And I was like, there's so many people here. Like how, like the market's got to be oversaturated. Like, how do I even start? And I think you looked at me and you were like, out of the 300 people here, the people that haven't bought a property yet, there's going to be 2 people that go and buy a property.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I was like, all right, I'm just going to freaking buy a property. I was like, if I lose money on it, it's a learning experience. And so then like a week later, my wife went into labor. We had the baby. I was sitting at the hospital looking at houses, and came across this one in the Tower Grove area. And honestly didn't know what I was doing. You were mad at me because I didn't even talk to you about it.
Yeah. So it's like, what are you doing? I'm here to help you as much as I
Yeah.
can. And you just went and bought something.
And it was like, it was one of those moments where I was like, it's sink or swim, like now or never. So I bought it, and I, like, looking back, I could have gotten in such like so much trouble with buying that, because I didn't know what I was doing. Honestly, I just was like, there's houses on this street that are selling for over 300. This is going for, they had it listed 180. I offered 140, and then we settled on 150. I was like, you got to be able to make money on it, right?
There you go.
And so I literally bought it and had no idea what I was doing. Luckily, we got into it, and the original plan was to do a full-on, like, high-end luxury flip, because in the Shaw area, there's a lot of really nice houses like that.
Mm-hmm.
We got in there, got a contractor in, and he was like, you could do that. It's going to cost you $100,000. You might make $50,000. It's going to take 6 months. He's like, what I would do is I would paint it and then just resell it. And so that's literally what we did. So we got in there, we cleaned it up, we painted it, we put in granite countertops and new appliances. I think we were all in on it for about $10,000. So we were all in at $160,000, and we ended up selling it for $212. So, and
nice.
So we owned it for about a month, and it worked out really well. For not knowing what we were doing. We got really fortunate on that one.
Yeah, it's really good to learn your lessons and make money, as opposed to I've learned my lessons plenty of times and lost money. So
exactly.
So that's awesome. So you bought it for 150 grand. How did you end up funding it? Did you go through hard money, private money? How did you end up funding it?
So again, this was one where we didn't know what we were doing. So like I didn't even know, like, the whole private. I mean, it's so weird because it was 6 months ago, and I feel like even just through the process, I've learned so much. But I didn't even know the process of hard money, private lending. So I just bought it from the bank. So we put 20% down on it,
Okay.
and did just a conventional loan on it, and bought it from the bank. And then we used our own money, because we had been fortunate enough in Colorado to we did a live-in flip on one of the houses that we had out there, and so ended up making a decent amount of money on that. So we had some money stockpiled. So then we used our own money to rehab it as well. And so I didn't even know the concept of hard money or private lending.
You just jumped in, which is awesome, which is why you're going to have about, 8 properties in about a half a year's time frame, because you just jump in and figure it out. And that the main thing is, if you buy it right, then you have options. Like, you bought that one, right, your first flip, right, at 150 grand. You probably could have put in 75 to 100 and maybe made a little bit more, but you bought it right. So you had the option to just kind of cosmetic it up and get it out on the market, because the market was hot. So
exactly. And we were going to, completely redo it, do really nice bathrooms, do a really nice kitchen, blow out some walls to open it up, because it was built in, I think, 1908. And it's still, but we went through and kept the character and kept the original floors, and they had the pocket doors on it. And literally spent $10,000 rehabbing it, and ended up making, like you said, we just bought it right. That was kind of my thought process, is if we can't do anything, I think that we could relist this on the market and still list it for $160,000, and we wouldn't lose money.
That makes sense. So that was a great first story. That is awesome. So moving back to St. Louis, wanting to get a real estate game. I talked to you a little bit, so I kind of know the answer to this, but the goal is accumulating wealth through rental properties, right? That's kind of your goal. Yeah, you do flips here and there, but it's mainly to grow rentals. Is that right?
Yeah. So we wanted to do rentals, and that was another just mistake on my own part. When I bought, so like I told you, I bought this tower. It's like, there's so many things that could have been messed up, because I bought it originally to rent it. But I didn't even run numbers on it. Literally didn't even run numbers on it. So I bought it for $150,000. After putting in the money, it would be worth about $1,600, and we probably could have rented it out for $1,300 to $1,400 a month. And so after I had bought it and I started looking at the numbers, I was like, oh, this really doesn't work that well as a rental. And so we bought it for the purpose of fixing it up and renting it out. And and then it just didn't, the numbers didn't work as I kind of grew in that. And so, so we ended up selling it or making the decision to just flip it. But the goal is to acquire rental properties and be able to have the cash flow on those. That's our number one goal.
Nice. Yeah, I bought my first property to fix it up and sell it on the open market because I thought you had to come up with 20% down like you. We just bought our first house, didn't analyze it, didn't know anything. We ended up keeping it as a rental, so kind of opposite of you. But yeah, sometimes you gotta jump in and buy a property and just see what happens from there. Let's go into your first rental.
Perfect. First BRRRR house. So the first BRRRR house, I bought from you guys, and it was, one of your guys' buyers sent me a bunch of pictures on it, told me about it. It was trashed. It was disgusting on the inside. There was clothes that were up to your shoulders all throughout it. We found dead animals in it. When we'd moved in, when we finally got it, the neighbor came over and said that there had been at least 2 deaths inside of it in the last year.
Nice.
And so, yeah, so it was a rough house. And we actually bought it sight unseen from you guys because
you are crazy.
Yeah. The owner of it was probably obviously a little crazy with the stuff that was inside of it. So they wouldn't let us in until we actually closed on it. I think we did a double closing, or you just signed the contract when we closed. We bought it sight unseen. You guys were super, super gracious in that, though, of saying, because the owner wasn't letting us in, if we got inside of it and we're like, hey, we don't want this, you would buy it right back from us. So that's why we love working with you guys, because you guys are has the most integrity of any companies out here. It's amazing. So we bought it sight unseen, but we had a plan. If
you had
destroyed.
A contingency plan if something was.
Yeah. So you guys are amazing in that aspect, but we ended up closing on it, I believe, on December 23rd, and we got into it that day, and it was just trashed.
Were you a little oh crap, what did I do when you went in there?
Oh yeah, because the other houses that we had bought before that were all kind of grandma clean type houses, where they weren't destroyed at all. They just needed they needed paint. They needed either refinishing the flooring or new floors, but they were clean. And this one, you walked in and it was so disgusting. There was pipes everywhere. Drug paraphernalia. there was just anything that you could think of. This house had it. It was really, really rough. Like I said, there's a dead raccoon and a dead squirrel in there. There was a closet that was filled with all these satanic it was so weird. And so we walked through, my wife and I was like, what have I gotten myself into? I was kicking myself, honestly. And I was like, I'm not going to call them back and ask them to buy it, because I want to do business with them and I just don't want to be that guy. And so I was like, we're going to figure it out. And so we hired out a cleaning crew to get in there to clean it. And I believe that was about $3,000, which they gave us a really good deal on. It took them, I think, 16 dumpsters full of stuff to clean the entire house. Yeah. And then we got our crew guys to get in there and fix it up.
So you bought this first one, got in there and thought, oh crap. What did you end up buying the property from us for? I don't even remember.
So we bought it for $67,000 from you guys.
Okay. How did you fund that?
So we actually funded that with a private lender.
Love it. Private lending there's a few different ways people fund deals. They do private lenders, their own money, hard money lenders, which is more of a company that uses the bank's funds and arbitrages it out. They use their funding and then they just mark it up. Or you can just go through banks, and you guys did the private money route is the way we go as well. So private money is awesome. So how'd you come across that private lender? Is it family, friends, family?
Yeah, so it's a family friend of ours, and I think, and you probably can attest to this, one of the things that I've found, and it's not just me being annoying, it's because I'm so excited and believe that you can there's so much wealth in real estate. And so I just talk about it all the time.
Yep.
And I think people can see my passion when I talk about it and see like how excited I am about it. And so I was at a get together with a bunch of friends and family friends, and I was talking about our Tower Grove house, and then I was talking about how we had made money on our live and flip in Colorado. And I was talking about we actually had one more house before this Laven house that we did, and how all of them were making money, how it's incredible the multiple ways that you can build wealth in real estate through, having from, flipping and rehabbing a house, from having somebody pay down your mortgage, from having like some cash flow in it, from appreciation. Like there's so many different avenues to make money. And there was, a family friend that was standing there listening to me and pulled me aside and was like, hey, I'd love to, part of it was, he's like, I see that you're passionate about this, and what I'm passionate about is helping people pursue their passions.
Yep.
And so he, obviously he still wants to make a little bit of money on it. And so our terms were, I would pay him 12% annualized on the loan that he gave me. And we ended up, it was $100,000 loan. And so, and I'm hoping to lower that. And when we chatted about that, once we get a couple deals under our belt together, we can slowly lower that down. But the first one, and I kind of brought him that, that interest rate of like, hey, 12%, because it's quite a bit cheaper than hard money.
Yeah, it is.
So I know it's not the best private lending rates that you can get, but
it's not bad.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. Yeah, because that's kind of what a lot of people do. They start out paying a little bit higher than as they do a few and show the track record of success. Then you can kind of lower it a little bit. That's a great story, Cam, of finding a private lender that you just were talking and chatting. You weren't really there to find one. I mean, that's the same way our main private lender has probably done $20 million in loans with us over the years. And he met my parents when my mom was pregnant with me. So we've just been a family friend our whole life. So it's just one of those things where you just talk about it enough. You'll find deals if you talk about it enough with passion like you have. You'll find lenders if you talk about it with enough passion. You just talk about it and live it, and stuff just kind of comes to you. As you've known, shit, you bought, we said 6 in the last 6 months, and said you bought your first one without even analyzing it, and they've all worked out just because you're smart and you're willing to adapt. So that is awesome. So you bought it for $67,000, used hard money at 12%, which is, I apologize. You used private money at 12%, which is a good rate. That's much cheaper than hard money usually is, that or more, plus points on the front or the back end. So hard money is a good way to go, but private money is our favorite way as well. So tell me a little bit about the rehab after you got it cleaned out and got all the stuff out there. Was it less scary or more scary after you got all the crap out of it?
So after we got everything out of it, my perspective on the house completely changed, because then I was like, oh, we really got really fortunate on this. Like if Luke and Sam saw what was under all of this disgustingness, they would have sold it for 10 grand higher. So it actually changed, because the reality of it is we got it for a lot cheaper than our other houses, because of all the trash in it. But once you cleaned out the trash, it was just like any of the other houses that we had done. And so we cleaned it out, and then we did a pretty extensive rehab. I mean, we didn't tear down any walls or anything, but we did new vinyl plank flooring throughout the entire house. We refinished the cabinets. We did new granite countertops. We did stainless steel appliances. We did new light fixtures. We did new hardware throughout the house. We did not do new bathrooms. We just glazed the tubs and the tile in the bathrooms. Okay. Trying to think what else we did on it. We built it. We had to add a little deck in the back. So we spent, all in, we were at $25,000. I think we paid the crew that we used. I think we paid them around 15 grand or so. No, it would have been less than that. It would have been like 12 or 13 grand. Cause then we had the appliances and the countertops that we used somebody else. So it really was it was insane to me how cheap it was to be able to do the entire house. We obviously, my wife, she helps do some work. So that kind of takes some prices down, where she'll refinish the cabinets herself. She's there helping the crews with whatever they need done. She does all of the this stuff that nobody else really wants to do. Like she fixed the attic fan. She replaced all the outlets. She does all of that stuff, which is awesome.
That's awesome to have. That saves a lot of money.
Yeah.
Those little tasks which not everyone can do. So that's awesome. She's handy enough to do them. But those are tasks that just people don't want to do. So then they charge a lot to do them. So that is awesome. So
yeah, like she does the hardware in all the houses, which is not fun at all, because it's piddly and it takes time. But she does that in all the houses, changes the door handles, changes the hardware on the cabinets, all that stuff. And it's not fun at all, but she does it and saves us a lot of money doing it. So
she's a rock star. That is awesome.
Yes.
Alrighty. So you bought it for 67, you put about 25 into it. So that's low 90s, and then paying your private lender and holding costs and everything, you were into it for around 100. Does that sound right?
No, we were actually into it for quite a bit under 100. So the holding costs were, I can send you our entire breakdown, and either you can post it somewhere, but we were all in, I believe, at around 95, because we held it for 2 months before we were able to refi on it. So we had to pay our private lender. We paid him $2,000. Our holding costs, because it was in cash, it was just the taxes and the utilities on it. I have those written down somewhere, but it wasn't much. And then we did have to pay closing costs with you guys. So we were all in, I believe, right at around 95.
Okay. We'll use 95. That's simple, clean math. Okay. And then so you finished it all, got it all nice and dressed up and clean, professionally done. And then you called the appraiser. Now, is this your first time? This was your first time, your BRRRR method. So is this your first time dealing with an appraiser for the BRRRR method?
It was, yeah. This was, so we called, actually, so, and this could be wrong, but it was our first BRRRR method.
Okay.
So we called our bank and said, hey, we have this house, we have a renter lined up. We want to refinance out of it. And our bank said, all right, well, we'll send over an appraiser. And the process was so smooth. So they sent over, like, within the next day, an appraiser called me and said, hey, I need to come walk through your house. And then they were coming through in like 2 days. And so that's when, we're a part of a mastermind group with you guys, where we'd never done that before. And so I sent out a message to everybody and said, hey, first time we have an appraiser walking through a house, like, how do we get it to appraise for as high as possible? And in my mind, our goal was to have it appraised at 135.
Okay.
That was our goal, because that would have gotten us all of our money out of it. And so I wanted it to appraise at 135. And then, everybody in the group started giving me great ideas of, like, go meet them there, make a list of everything that you have done to the entire house, all the upgrades, like, show them the highest comps in the area. And so that over the next couple of days before the appraiser came, my wife and I, we spent quite a bit of time just, like, thinking through what is everything that we've done, like putting a price on all of it. And there was even times where we might have inflated the price just a little bit, just to, just
leave yourself a little room, just in case.
And then we did add into, like, we kind of calculated, like, if we were paying somebody to do what my wife had done, that would have probably been $3-4 more grand, so it would have taken that 95 up to 100. So we included her work in that, even though it didn't come out of our pocket. We still included it in there. And so we went and we met the appraiser. We walked the house with her. She was great. We gave her all of the comps in the area. And when she left, I could tell we'd probably get a good appraisal on it. I was thinking, like, we're going to hit this 135 number, because she kept complimenting how nice the house looked. We did everything was brand new, cosmetically. And so she kept commenting how great the house was. So that was that. And then the next day we got an email from our bank saying that it appraised at 145.
All right. So you had 95 into it, basically, and the price for 145. So just right there, you had $50,000 in equity. You had half of $100,000 in equity. in one property.
Amazing. Yeah. It was absolutely amazing. And so then our bank called in, and this again was probably me being a rookie. So they and I'm going to pull out my phone to do the numbers real quick. So they said, hey, what do you want? Do you want to take out? Because they were willing to go up to 80% on that. So do you want to do 80%? And I turned it down because I just didn't. I was like, well, I mean, 75 would get us all of our money back and then some. So I actually turned down 80%. So if I were to take out 80%, they would have given me $116,000, and we would have had all in at 95. So we would have made $21,000, still owned the house, still had somebody paying off the mortgage. I was an idiot. I said, no, let's just do 75%. So we were able to pull out $108,000. So we made 13 grand or so, own the house, have a renter at $1,500 a month there. So
hold on. So this is your first BRRRR. Not many people go work out this way. So this is your very first BRRRR. You've done a couple deals. You're involved in, you know quite a few people. So you've learned quite a bit. But this is your very first BRRRR. You bought it with no money out of your own pocket through a private lender. So
yes,
Cam and Lexi have $0 into it besides some of Lexi's time. And then you had it for a few months, and then you get it appraised for $145,000. And then you pull out 108. So you made $13,000, had no money out of your pocket, have a renter that's going to rent it for $1,500, and you're probably going to cash flow 200, maybe $250 a month. And you did all this with no dollars out of your own pocket.
Yeah,
you made $13,000.
Yeah,
of tax-free money.
Yeah.
So maybe you should be the one giving the interview and talking to me about how to do it, because that is extremely impressive for your first deal. And you can do, that's the thing is, Cam, you've bought 6 in the past 6 months, but you can do that 100 times over the next couple of years if you want, as long as you're buying the property right. There's really no limit to it as long as you come up with the funding on the front and back end, which you can do with your connections in the bank. So that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you realize how cool that is, what you did.
Oh, no, it was amazing. When we got that, because I honestly didn't realize, talking with you guys and being a part of the mastermind and seeing all these people that have done it, like, you hear it and it's amazing. You're like, I wish I could do that. And I don't think it hit us until we were given a $108,000 check, where we were like, my wife and I, we both looked at each other, and we put a lot of work into it. My wife put a lot of hours into it, but we were like, we looked at each other and we're like, wait, so we didn't put any money down on this house. We had somebody else buy it for us. We made $13,000 tax-free. Now we own this house for the rest of our lives with still, $108,000. So it's 104. What is that? $37,000 of equity still in this house. And we have a renter in here paying down the mortgage for us, and we're still cash flowing money. We were like, our minds were just blown away. We were like, this is insane. Like, why doesn't everybody do this?
I agree completely. Yeah, no, it's such a good story, because that's exactly how you can do it when people don't believe you. Initially, when I say you can, have assets with no money out of pocket, that the tenant pays the note down, it appreciates over time. I know we got some craziness going on, but that house is going to appreciate. Just simple numbers, in 10 years, that's going to be a $190,000 house, and you're going to owe 70 on it. So, as you're going to have 120 if you keep it, and you'll make a couple $100 a month cash flow on it in the meantime. So, and then the taxes will be less if you sell it in 10 years because you've owned it for more than 2 years. So it'll be long-term capital gains and all that kind of stuff. It's just crazy what one house can do. Now extrapolate that times how many houses. What is your goal in the next 5 years? How many times are you wanting to just rental properties? Let's talk about just the rental properties.
So our goal is to own 100 properties. Actually, I think it was 106, because you guys did 105 in 5 years. I think that was the original goal. But our goal is to have over 100 rental properties in 5 years. Before all of this craziness, and actually it's still our goal. We wanted to do 20 in 2020. We're at, if we get these 2 houses that we have in the pipeline, we'd be at 6 in 2020. And so our goal is to do 20 in 2020, and then just keep doing that for 5 more years. And
I love it. I think that's a great goal, and I think you can do it. I mean, all this, we'll talk about this in our mastermind meeting we got in like 6 hours or whatever. But yeah, that's the market is going to be affected. You know, we don't like to get into the prediction game ever. I don't ever predict anything. I do know it is going to be affected, but I do know that over in the long run, values will go back up, and shoot, it may be affected less than we think. So people think this is going to happen, and people think this is going to happen. Usually it's something in between. So I'm sure that, you know, I would feel very confident continuing to buy. We bought 3 last month, and I got another one under contract. So we're looking to add rentals as well. So I think it's still a good time to do that.
Yeah. I'm excited. And I think part of this could be just because we're naive to it, and I wasn't around for the 2009, you know, in real estate. But I think for us, this is going to be a great time to buy, because there are a lot of people that are sitting on the sidelines right now. And so, so we're gonna keep pushing it as much as we can, while still being wise and not being foolish with our money. But we're gonna push it here in the next couple months and see what we can do.
I love it. I love it. All right, so tell our viewers how they can follow you. I know you guys are growing an awesome Instagram page online and everything. I guess tell us a little bit how everyone can get a hold of you, or just kind of see your guys' progress on your houses, because you guys do a great job at filming and taking pictures of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, love it. So our Instagram is Cam.Lexi.Houses on Instagram. And so we kind of try and post all of our before and after pictures on there. We post videos of the houses that we're renovating. You know, right now we've because we've been pretty much quarantined and haven't been going to the houses or anything. So right now we haven't been posting much. But as soon as we get out of the houses, we'll be posting again. But we're trying to build that Instagram following up, just because we want to share with everybody what we're doing. And again, I think it's one of those things we're so passionate about this, and we're so blown away of like, hey, this is, you can make a lot of money this way. And we want other people to get to do this. Like, I think for people like me who, you know, doesn't have, you know, hasn't been in the corporate world at all, I think this is the best way that anybody can make money, is through real estate. I think that I read that like 80% of self-made millionaires have done it through real estate, or something like that, something crazy like that.
Yeah, I think it's at least that. I think it's closer to 90, but yeah, it's
really,
real estate's awesome. So people like you that never been in the corporate world, it's a great way to get into real estate and make long-term generational wealth. People that are in the corporate world, my first 3 years of growing my portfolio, I had a full-time W-2 job outside of real estate, and now obviously I'm full-time in it. But it's a great way that people can go all in and, you know, jump in with 2 feet, or kind of dip their toes in as they go. So it is a great way to invest. So I appreciate it. So in the comments below of this video, comment how your first BRRRR deal went. What did you learn? Or what do you wish you would have done differently? And I'll make sure to comment on it. I'll make sure Cam has access to it, so he'll be commenting on there through his. You know, if you have any questions for Cam, ask him questions as well, because he is a great success story. So anything else you want to wrap this up with, Cam?
I mean, no, I will say this, you know, it was probably 6-7 months ago when, you know, I hit you up on Facebook. You know, we hadn't talked in 10 years, and I saw that you had listed a couple properties, and I was like, I'm probably going to go sit down with him. He might have 5 properties or whatever. And you were like, yeah, we're going to flip, you know, almost 200 properties this year, and we own 100. And I was like, oh my goodness, it was amazing. But and I think I told you this, the coolest thing, I walked away from that meeting. 1, you sat there and just told me everything. 2, you're running this huge business that's doing millions of dollars in real estate every year. You have a $10 million portfolio, and you didn't look at your phone once. Like, there's this random dude that you haven't talked to for 10 years, and you were so helpful and encouraging. And so you guys are amazing. So thank you guys so much. I obviously wouldn't have even gotten into this if I hadn't probably had that meeting with you. So, thank you guys so much, you and Lucas and Brian and everybody else that's a part of the FasterFreedom team. You guys have been, I think we bought 4 or 5 houses from you guys. You guys have just been amazing. So thank you.
Awesome. We appreciate that very, very much. And we love having people like you on the team selling houses too. And being a part of our education company, you are the exactly what we look for when we look to partner with people. So we appreciate that as well. We'll jump off of here and see you next time.